To start off, can you please state your name and spell it?
Ranbir Kaur, Ranbir, last name Kaur.
What is your title and rank in the Army?
My title and rank in the Army was I was the Senior Signals Intelligence Collector, and my rank was Sergeant First Class.
How old were you when you first joined the Army?
I enlisted 2 days after I turned 17. I was in high school, and I always saw the recruiters come through, and being a tomboy that I was, I would see them from the age of 16, and I would ask them, like, what are the requirements? And they would tell me, like, you got to be at least 17. And 2 days after I turned 17, I had my parents sign the paperwork with the recruitment, and I enlisted.
How did you tell your family and friends that you enlisted?
Well, talking to my dad, being a Punjabi Sikh, that was quite a bit. It took a couple months to finally convince my dad. So when the time came, 2 days after I turned 17, the recruiter came to the house, and my dad even asked me again, are you sure you want to do this? I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. I promise I'll finish my nursing career, and as long as you just let me go join the Army. And I think at that time it wasn't too difficult because my dad just knew, like, if this is what I wanted to do, he was going to let me. And since my grandpa was in the military back in India, I just knew I wanted to be in some branch of the military. But as far as my friends go, everyone was in shock because the city that I went to high school in, not a lot of people were ambitious to go out and do much at that time. So to them, that was like, whoa, you're going to go do something cool.
So what was your job in the Army?
So in my 19 years, 10 months in the Army, I've actually had a couple different jobs. We call them MOS, different jobs that I've held. One of them was a human intelligence collector, which I guess civilians could say that's like an interrogator. So I held that job title for quite a bit, and then I transitioned over to a signals intelligence collector, and I finished off my career as signals intelligence.
So tell me what you did as a signals intelligence voice interpreter.
Okay, so in unclassified way that I could say that is I spoke different languages. I spoke Punjabi, Hindi, and Urdu. Punjabi was what I grew up with, but over the years I just picked up Urdu, and along the way somehow I picked up Hindi. But because I had these language skills, I was able to go into a career where I was able to help the military translate basically foreign communications and fight our targets, criminals that were from other nations that spoke those languages. So I was able to intercept those communications and translate those communications and provide it to the U.S. government.
And how did your deployment in Iraq differ from what you did in Afghanistan?
So I went to Afghanistan first at a very young age. I was 19 when I went to Afghanistan. And I think at that time, my mind and my body didn't realize what I was getting myself into. And I think it didn't hit me of what I was into until we got our first mortar round or rocket attack. So Afghanistan was almost survival. It was praying every day and just calling home, praying some more, and just asking to survive and get out of here and go back to the U.S. and go back to my family. Iraq was a different story. Iraq was like, that's what I wanted to do because my body and my mind was already used to being on the go and being in that survival mode of, I got this. Like, we might get hit with a mortar. We might get hit with rockets. We might even see suicide bombers. Matter of fact, we will see suicide bombers. And the brain was already wired of accepting that this was new reality. Because growing up, we didn't see that. We were just innocent, children up until we're 17, 18, young adults. And Iraq, my mind was prepared. I knew we would get hit. I knew I would lose buddies. So that's how Iraq and Afghanistan differed, because Afghanistan, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And the question always was, why? Why are we doing this? But inside, I was like, I'm surviving this. I need to go back home. Iraq, I was, okay, People are going to die. We're going to do this.
So,
And we're going to protect the U.S.
yeah. After your experience in Afghanistan, how were you, like, mentally, emotionally affected when you got back home?
So after I got back from Afghanistan, it was maybe 30 days after I had been home, and it was the winter time. And I remember low crawling from my bedroom down the hallway because there was thunderstorm outside. And I was screaming and I was telling people to get down until the lights came on and my mom and dad are standing over me. And to them, to this day, I think they understand it to a certain point. But to them at that time, they turned on the lights. They're like, what are you doing? Why are you going crazy? And I'm sweating, and I'm in my head, I'm trying to explain to them what I just saw and, backflashes of the war. They were just like, no, you're fine. Just pray and go back to sleep. And I think after a few times that happened, that was my decision, that I volunteered and went back to Iraq. Because who I was before I went to Afghanistan was no longer who I was after I came back from Afghanistan. When I came back from Iraq, that's when it really hit. That's when I knew mentally I needed help. I knew, like, I couldn't volunteer to go back to another deployment because I wasn't okay here. Here, I was telling myself, I'm fine, I'm strong, I'm brave, but mentally I wasn't okay. And it was about a year after I had come back that I decided to get help. I turned myself into the VA. I stayed in the psych ward for about 4 days. I didn't want to harm myself. I loved myself too much, but I knew at the same time that I needed help. And that was my initial start to getting the mental help that I needed from 2009.
Was that an influencer in your decision to retire?
So that was back in 2009 that I decided to. And at that time I said, you know what, I'm done. I want to get out. This was too much for this young brain of mine to take in all of this. But I tried to retire, because I went back to college and I couldn't, that wasn't me. I was like, well, I can't be here. These young children, I don't fit in, because I had seen a whole different world, being away for 2 deployments. And I had seen things and experienced things that none of my classmates in college had experienced or seen. So I wanted to retire, but I couldn't at the time. My heart, my brain was just saying, keep going, keep going. And I think it was more like, it'll get better with time, and I still need help. So I continued to serve, and things got better, obviously. It was just the PTSD, the depression, the anxiety that came along with seeing and experiencing what we did on our deployments. So the last draw of retirement, which was almost 12 years after my last deployment, was to be a mom, to be with my child and start something new. Because I had seen enough of the military side, 19 years, 10 months, 27 days to be exact. But I knew there was a different calling in my life, that I no longer was wanting to be a soldier, wanting to be with the military intelligence. I wanted to be a mom. And that was my decision, was to be a mom.
Would you wish you had enlisted when you were older, or do you like the way things were?
So I've thought about that question. Like, how would I have handled it if I was older? I think if I was older and mature, things would have been different. But I think because I did it at such a young age, it was an eye-opener. And I don't think I would have enlisted later on. And I don't think my body would have been able to go through all of that, carrying, 60 pounds and carrying your ruck, carrying your vest, carrying all this ammunition, and, having a rifle, having a pistol, and, having bulletproof vests front and back. I don't think my body would have handled all of that. Even to this day, when I retired and had to go turn in all my stuff, I was like, whoa, I can't believe I carried all of this, like 60, 70 pounds. And you have a big old rock and you have a duffel bag in the front and you're carrying 2. My body wouldn't have handled it. But I'm glad I got to experience it while I was young, because I'm retired now, and now I could start a whole different career and go on from there. But I'm glad I did it at a young age because I learned a lot. I've experienced a lot, and that's what makes me who I am now, a happier version of myself than I was when I first enlisted.
If anything, what do you miss most about being in service?
Oh my goodness. The friendships, the families, the bond. I didn't have social media up until about 4 years ago. So majority of my military career, because I worked for military intelligence, so I didn't have no social media. So, but the bond, the connections, just picking up that phone and having a conversation with my battle buddy that deployed with me back in 2005, that's what I miss. Some days I'm at home and I miss just being in the office, miss talking to my soldiers, miss going for that 2-mile run with my Joes in the morning or watching them run while I sipped on my chow. But that's a different story. But I just miss the friendships, the family, the bond that we created over the years.
What are you glad to have left behind?
I've left behind a story. There was a lot of changes that happened within the last 4 or 5 years of the military and fixing up my unit of how things were run. I think my biggest accomplishment that I leave behind, that is foreign pay, because we're all signals intelligence and we translated foreign communications. Each one of us in our unit spoke a different language. And for each language that we spoke, we get a bonus pay, which is called the Foreign Language Proficiency Bonus. So flip pay, that's how I refer to it. So flip pay had been behind for at least for my unit for the last 3-4 years. So I was able to go back and make sure each soldier was paid for each language each month and was able to get my unit caught up, which we lack. And I think the biggest morale for our unit is getting paid. Soldiers want to get paid. And if they're paid, they're happy. So that's what I left behind, was fixing foreign language pay and fixing it to the point where they were, their back pay was like $50,000, $60,000 that they missed out on. So that's what I leave behind, is just the knowledge and getting the unit caught up.
Okay. And tell me about your experience as a Sikh woman in the Army.
Oh my goodness. So this is a loaded question. As a Sikh woman in the military, when I first started off, I was just like another person, another female in the military. And I think as time went on, that's when the military really started recognizing that there are Sikh women in the military, and there was a lot more that were joining. We've had Sikh women been joining the militaries decades and decades ago, way prior to my time. But once the military learned more and more about Sikh women, it was more beneficial for us, because our chaplains would recognize us, our colonels, who were like our higher bosses, our generals knew who Sikh women were, because they had learned about the history of just Sikhs in general, right? So it became a thing, I think, when California National Guard did a partnership with the Indian Army. Our generals wanted the Sikh, not just the Sikh women, but Sikh men as well, soldiers, to be on the forefront of that and be the top translators and be the person between the U.S. Army and the Indian Army. So I think as time went on and the media covered more of Sikh women in the military, we were really valued in the military. So it was a plus for us, for all the media coverage that we've had in the military. And they knew of Sikh women as being courageous, being, strong, and being able to lead with our male counterparts.
In conclusion, is there anything you'd like to add that I didn't mention?
No, I would just say the military has been a wonderful experience for me. I've learned a lot, I experienced a lot, and like I talked about earlier about the whole PTSD, the depression, the anxiety, that's a given with a normal person going from, the civilian world and never having violence in their life to a war-torn country. But there is help. And when I made the decision to get the help and get the therapy that I needed to just be a better person and be good to myself and be good to my son, that's when I knew like the military was a good experience. But it also damaged me to a certain extent. But there was also so much help and there was so many benefits out there. And I think I've had a wonderful career, so I'm happy with that. Now I get to be a mom.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
And your title?
Harmeet Juneja. Do you need me to spell it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Harmit. And last name is Juneja. And I'm currently serving as the principal superintendent at charter school. It's Clovis Global Academy.
Okay. What made you want to start this school?
It was more than just me. It was a community, I think just a need in the community. We were seeing like it started off as just a motivation to promote more tolerance in our communities and getting to know each other. We have so many diverse cultures, including the Sikh community. And that's where it started from, that how do we create more awareness around that so we get to know each other better as a community. So this project started off more as like introducing Punjabi as a language in addition to the core curriculum. But it evolved as it went on to see the needs of we have a strong component of Spanish-speaking community members, and then just I think taking that global mindset towards like Spanish is spoken in 21 countries. So we ended up actually with this amazing program. So right now it's a school that is a dual immersion model where kids learn half of the time in Spanish and half of the time in English. So it's a 50-50 dual immersion. And we have a global cultures framework. So students, in addition to that, have the option of learning about other cultures like Punjabi, and we also have like Mandarin Chinese as an option in there. So it's a truly multilingual ecology in that school right now. The other very essential part of the school was just an environment where students can blossom fully, and we can preserve that innocence and that joy in their hearts that they just come with. And I think that's why our emphasis on just the social emotional learning, that emotional intelligence, the heart, cultivating the heart, and just mindfulness, introducing some meditation practices, and just having a very kind and loving environment. So that's another important reason this school came into being. And then just teaching practices being very constructivist and project-based learning, so authentic lifelong learning experiences. So those were some of the motivating factors.
What lessons have you learned along the way of this, and which of these would you like to share?
I think just the whole process of starting a charter school is full of challenges that I didn't anticipate as I was getting into it. But the biggest thing that I learned is, one is that you can achieve anything that you set your mind to. But I mean it in the truest sense of humility. You can't do anything alone. So community is a very important part of everything. So involving community, asking for help, and genuinely asking for help. So really what I've learned is to be humble and just ask for help when needed. And what I've noticed along this process is the innate nature of a human being is to help. So, and I just, anytime we were hit with roadblocks, I've seen just help came pouring in anytime I wanted. And, we were able to overcome all these obstacles and have this opportunity for our kids in the community.
Could you tell me about a person who had a great influence on you and why?
I think this, the path of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Guru Granth Sahib Ji, just And masters, those who have lived this, like in my life, Babaji's been a great influence. The Sangat has been a great influence, where just seeing those models who have lived that life and cultivated that deep sense of humility, service, and from that realizing like the most important thing in the life first is to learn who you are, truly you are. So really getting in touch with my true self and cultivating that. So that's been the biggest influence. Just somebody waking me up to saying that it's not just about going to school or getting a good job, and you have to know who you are and what you're here to do. So that's that dimension of my life, the spirituality. I think that's been the biggest influence in my life.
How do you want to influence the future generations, and what lessons would you give to them?
If there was one lesson, and if I could influence, that's a big term. I could only just offer, and really it's just a humble request that to everyone. I think meditation. I feel like that's the key to life. Without meditation, it's just impossible to really know who you truly are. So I think just making meditation a part of your life in whatever way, shape, or form you can from a young age, and just stay connected with that heart of yours. And like I said, know your true self, and always keep you anchored into who you truly are, and will help you in every step of life. You will never be in that doubt, like, should I do this or that? Because you will always be in that space where you know what the next step is. So it's just a beautiful way to live life like that. So I'd say, bring meditation into your life. Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to share about yourself?
I'm a pretty boring person otherwise. I'm just consumed by just, since this whole charter school came into my life, it's just been, it's been an amazing experience for me. Just the volume of humanity I've experienced in that, just getting to know. I've really enjoyed. I never thought I could be like a principal of an elementary school around like little kids, but I'm really enjoying, and I think it's bringing out that part in me. Those kids really keep you young and fresh. So I really love the joy and their presence in my life. I'm blessed to have, a wonderful family, Sangat, like my bigger family is my Sangat, here in this Fresno area and around the world. And then I have my 3 daughters, who are just, each one of them is amazing in their own ways. Really just blessed to have them, my parents, wife. So just, I feel very blessed, just very content and thankful for the way life has treated me so far. And I'm thankful for amazing, young, just responsible youth like you, who are exposing yourself to like opportunities like this and looking for ways to grow yourself. So I really deeply appreciate and have a deep sense of respect, and I bow to people like you who are, taking these steps. Yeah.
How would you say Sangat has helped shape your life?
Yes, Sangat again is a community, right? Sangat is a community, but a community that has a very again, where the way of life is modeled for you, and you have a strong support system. So, it's not just your mom and dad and, 3-4 people in home that's you're limited. Now you have, once you're in this Sangat, the congregation, and this way of life, I think, it brings like meditation and service just automatically become a part of your life. And I think it brings out the best in you. There's an opportunity to see role models in your life, learning in so many ways. You find brothers and sisters that, become that support for you. And, there's so many like motherly figures and fatherly figures in the Sangat. And then you really, sometimes it's very inspiring to see like how humble someone is, those who are really walking this path and practicing it. And just by seeing them, it inspires you to say, I want to be like that too. So I think Sangat is just a beautiful way to just that way of life. It feels very natural to me. I feel like we're made for that, for that way of life. So.
And what would you say to the people who aren't aware of Sangat, or who don't have access to Sangat, what they can do to also experience this?
Again, like of course, I think mostly like in most of the areas there would be like find a group of people wherever you are. I feel like who are again committed to self-improvement. It's like these are people who are committed to like, okay, it doesn't have to be just based on religion, right? So it's like you can find like-minded people who are truly committed to being the best human beings they can be. And like I said, without meditation, it's impossible. So find people around you who meditate, meet with them, talk to them, and just, sing with them, go hiking, do things like just be surrounded by good, positive energy. And I think that becomes a big force in life. But if possible, find locally, if there's maybe a place of worship. If not, then honestly, I think even like through Zoom now there are some opportunities. Like I've seen people who I know people who meet literally daily at night and they'll do like a book study. Some of them live in Canada, some live in Australia, some live in India, some in California here. But they get together every night and they do like a book study and share their thoughts and reflections on things. So these are all ways of bringing Sangat into your life.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We came to America in April '99. When we moved here, I was 12 years old. So growing up in Punjab, I was born and raised in a city called Chandigarh, which is a very well-developed city. I wouldn't say it's alike to growing up in a city in America, but at the same time, I did not grow up in the suburban Punjab. I did grow up in a city, so don't have a lot of memories growing up there since I was very young when we moved here. But went to school, had a lot of friends, ate a lot of good food. That's all I can say. Yeah, actually, that's a really good question. So I started school in middle school here. So I went to 8th grade, and it was very different for me. A lot of the kids, even though like now in Fresno, there's a big Sikh and Punjabi population here. Back in those days, that was not the case. And I was actually the only kid in the school that had long hair. I wore my dastar to school. And a lot of kids had never seen anybody like me in school. So it was different. A lot of times I did get bullied in middle school. I was happy that middle school was over. Then I went to high school, and then 9/11 happened. And then you can just imagine all the experiences I would have gone through after that with all the racism and hate crimes. We can talk more about that if you would like.
Yeah, can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so as you know, September 2001, the Twin Tower attack. So after that, and I had just started high school, actually had gone for one semester, and the attack happened. And at that time, I actually didn't really connect with my own identity back then. Like, I didn't know, like, why was I wearing a turban? I didn't really have this motivation to keep my identity. And I started questioning myself that, like, hey, why are people mistaking me as a terrorist? And all what we were seeing during classes were like news on the TV, like with people look like me, but they were not like me, right? Like these were Islamic terrorists that had bombed, that had carried out this terrorist attack. And a lot of people looked at me and they thought, hey, I have brown skin, I'm wearing something on my head, I must be the same as them. And people automatically said I must also support, their beliefs. And a lot of times, like, I had to face a lot of like verbal abuse. Really lucky that I did not have to go through any physical abuse, although I do know like many friends of mine who actually had to go through very severe racial crimes here. But like I did get abused a lot by kids in the gym. People would call me Osama. People would call me like so many other names, and I was just starting to question myself, like, why am I going through this? Like, what do I have to do with all of this? And just to add to that, like, I grew up in Punjab, which is in Southeast Asia. However, the perpetrators of the 9/11 attacks, they had nothing to do with Asia. They had nothing to do with Punjab. They all came from Middle East, which is a very far away. And a lot of people here, like, sadly, they don't really understand the geography, right? You even ask people like, where's Canada? And they'll be surprised, they wouldn't be able to tell you. And like, let alone like Middle East. So a lot of people think like, a lot of people who have brown skin, they are all the same. They all must be Muslim. So that was one of the issues growing up here in Fresno.
Did you ever counteract that racism directly in high school, or maybe did so after?
Well, it's been, I would say it has continued even after high school, but in high school I would say like that was the peak, because like I was fairly young. I didn't really know about my own beliefs, so like I couldn't really stand up for myself. So like a lot of times like people would use racial slurs, and I would just like try to walk away and not say anything, right? And even after like growing up, going to university, like I could tell, the bias was always there. People would always like, second guess who I was. But at that time, like, luckily I had developed my own sense of like longing for my own identity. And like I wanted to connect deeper with who I was. So at that point, I started telling people, hey, wait, you know what, this is who I am. And luckily also by then, like a lot of other organizations also kicked in. In Fresno, there were like a lot of campaigns, even across America. A lot of people were actually like, now they were recognizing who the Sikhs were. As a child, I have a difficult memory going back. Like I can't really tell you who was my influence back then in Punjab. However, I can tell you, growing up in Fresno, I was really inspired by a figure whose name is Sant Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale, and I came across him through chance, and he really introduced and motivated me to follow my identity, follow the values of the Sikh religion, and do my own research. So after high school, I actually went to college and studied information technology and corporate management. I always had an interest in technology, so that's something I really wanted to do and pursue in my career. Yes, 100%. Although actually this also goes back to your initial question about, like my experiences growing up. What happened was after 9/11, like a lot of like computer engineers, like they were like being deported because of loss of jobs. So my parents actually like kind of forced me to change my careers, and they were like, hey, no one's gonna hire you. You should get a job that doesn't really involve like a lot of like seeing a lot of people. Perhaps, you should do accounting. They had their own, they had their own thinking about like, what would be best for them. So like I actually had to switch my careers because of that. And they felt like maybe I would be more secure if, I could get a job as an accountant in Fresno. But however, things did not work out. And luckily I actually got an internship in IT. So I moved to the Bay Area and I spent about 12, 15 years living there. So what I do, I'm really passionate about. I love technology, and this is something I've been doing for the past 15 years. It's, in the tech field, like there are like a lot of people that look like me, a lot of people, at this age, like people hire people for their talents. So like nobody looks at me and thinks like, hey, like is he really going to be able to get the job done, right? Like my resume shows all of that, right? So I don't really have any challenges like that, but I can imagine a lot of the younger population, they do have similar challenges.
Um,
It's a very good question. Like, and if you ask somebody like explain what the American life is, like I think everybody would give you a different response, right? Like, are we talking about the indigenous people here? Are we talking about, the masses that lived in California before California became part of America? Like, who are we talking about? Are we talking about the white people? So like everybody would give a different response to that. To me, like I'm really inspired by the values. Of being American, about like equality, right? Equality, justice for all. I think that is something I'm passionate about. And in my personal life, back to your question, these values really inspire me as well. I think there's like a lot of like overlap between like justice, equality, in America and also in the Sikh religion. Of course, yeah. I work for a cybersecurity company based out of San Jose, California. I've been with them for about 3 years now, and I'm a product manager by profession. So what I do is I tell the engineers what to build, and the goal of the company, one of the products is to make email secure, to stop cyber attacks from happening. And email is one of the ways where hackers can gain access to your systems, your files. So what we try to do is safeguard your system. So like first of all, you don't get hacked, your personal information is not breached, and if that does happen, we help you recover and get back safely. So to answer that, I would talk about a nonprofit organization for which I'm currently the president for. It's the Khalis Foundation. So what the Khalis Foundation does is it provides resources to the minority communities with a focus on the Punjabi Sikh community, through tech education. And as part of Khalis Foundation, we have actually developed a number of mobile apps. One of the mobile apps is Sundar Gutka, which has close to 10 million downloads. So I think just me having that type of connection to tech helped me play a very important role in the success of this organization. And when I talk about 10 million downloads, it might not seem like a lot when you talk about like Facebook or Instagram. However, our engagement time on the app, I should explain more. The app is a prayer app, and our average engagement time on the app is about 2 hours. And that's the type of engagement like companies like Facebook and Instagram would spend tens of millions of dollars to have. And we've been able to actually provide that type of service to the Sikh community.
I actually use Sundar Gutka to a daily, and I didn't know that you helped build
Yeah, that's right. So I'm one of the co-founders, and I'm currently the president. It's a non-profit organization. Another app that we have also developed is Sikh to the Max. Is used by over 300 gurdwaras worldwide. You might have seen the projector screen at various gurdwaras that display the kirtan as it's being performed. So we're also behind that application. To me, it's like very intertwined. I wake up, I start with the meditation. I do my Nityanem, I do my Simran in the morning. Then, that actually really helps me get a head start. I wake up early, get started early. So like I'm like, it gives me like a head start. I'm already like ahead of others, right? Like who might start their day later. Many of my colleagues do even wake up earlier than me. I don't know what their meditation practice is, but for me, it really helps me get like this morning boost that I need, right? So like at nighttime, I know like, hey, I need to get up early in the morning so I can start my day early. But, that also tells me like the meditation practice that like I need to not forget that this is just something I do in the morning, but like anytime like I'm going in a meeting where I have to do a presentation, or like I have to like try to convince my stakeholders that we should do something this way, like it tells me that, hey, to take a step back, relax, breathe in, breathe out, and realize that everything is going to work out. So like I think the Sikhi practice really helps me in my like everyday life in that aspect. And also like as a Sikh, like I think righteousness and also like that like my perspective is not always the right perspective. It tells me that like, hey, I need to be open-minded. I think that is really key, because like the way I develop relationships is by listening and being there for people. And as a product manager, like since my job is to influence other people, I think this really helps me in that case, because like people can always come to me knowing that I will listen to them. So I think like that's something that I've really learned from my practice as a Sikh.
Up to them.
So I have a 4-year-old daughter, and she challenges me in so many ways. And I wouldn't say she's an influence, but like she is really shaping my life. Um, Before her, I thought I was a calm person, had this really calming demeanor. And people would also tell me that. But like being around her, like as she's like always challenging me, I've realized like how so much more I need to work on myself, right? Like if she is like, poking me all the time, like, I always have to like remind myself that like, hey, this too shall pass, right? Like I just need to stay grounded, stay humble, and be there for her. But otherwise, like, I've been inspired by so many people recently. If we talk about like about Sikhs specifically, right? Like recently, Sidhu Moosewala, who've been able to make such an impact for the Sikh community, but also like Moosewala just bringing this Sikh image to the masses. I think that's been really inspirational. But at the same time, like I've also been inspired by the likes of Dr. Martin Luther King, right? Like who like spent his entire life to ensure that people in this country actually were treated equally as others. My advice would be always, go back to the definition of being a Sikh. That means a student. Always keep on learning, keep an open mind, understand that everybody brings a different perspective, and that's not a bad thing, right? As a community, like, we are very small in numbers, very few in numbers, and as we grow, like, there will be differences of opinion, and, it's really important to understand that, like, we're all the same while being different at the same time. So know your roots, understand where you come from, understand Gurbani, understand the Sikh history, and just be proud of who you are.
Thank you so much, Veerji. This will conclude our interview. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Go ahead, state your name and tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Parminder Garwal. I'm a Sikh Indian woman. I'm 50 years old and I work in healthcare. I'm the manager for interpreting services and support services at community medical centers. And I'm also board member of the school, Sikh school, that we have running for about 35 years now, and also board member on the Sikh Women's Organization of Central California. I was born in Africa, and when I was in second grade, I went to India, and most of my schooling and my childhood years have been in India. I have very fond memories of India, a lot of fun times and a lot of friends in school, in college. We had a big group of about 7, 8 friends that hung out together, and we are still in touch. Even though we live all around the world, we are still in touch. At the age of 24, I got married, and that's when I came to the U.S., and my rest of my life have been here for 26 years. It's been wonderful, and I love my life. Some of my favorite family traditions are on birthdays, we make it a point to celebrate together as a family, and we really do believe in all extended families staying together and celebrating birthdays. And one of the traditions is we all feed the birthday person. We have tons of photographs that prove that. And also another tradition that we have is we do make it a point to at least go to one of the temples. All the temples celebrate in April the foundation of our Khalsa, our Sikh religion, and we do make it a point to at least go to one of the temples in the month of April whenever the celebration is happening. And another tradition I would say is that my family really follows is that we do believe in in feeding or giving the needy. So we serve a meal in the month of April and in November, symbolizing our Sikh religion at Powerello House. So the lesson that some of the lessons or something that really impact me as a person about Sikhi and Sikhism was that the element of seva, which is seva means giving back or serving without having your own personal gain out of it. So we have in our temple, we have free food, which is called langar, which is available to everybody and anybody that comes to the temple. Even at a young age, I saw that whenever we went to the temple, our Sikh Gurdwara, we always had food, and there is abundance. Our Sikh Golden Temple in Amritsar, there is food served to about 400,000 people every day, and there is no dearth of food. It's always available. We don't necessarily have to donate, but it's there. It's always there, and we're available. So that's something that giving back to community and being available to people in need is something that has really resonated with me from our religion, and that is what I do. So I've always seen, and from our gurus also, we have learned that being a family person and caring for your family, you can still continue to be on your spiritual path and do other work with community work and do free help to communities. So that is what I do. I have seen others do it. The founder of our Sikh school is a senior member of our board. I've seen her do it. I've seen other members in the community do it, and that's what I follow, and that's how I see myself going on the same path. Some of the most prominent elements or principles of Sikhi that I follow are the earning your wages or earning your money by truthfully working, and also one of the other rules is the 3 golden rules is basically what I follow. The first one is earning righteously, and then always remembering that there is a supreme power, there's an energy. When you do that, when you're spiritually connected to an energy or God, you believe in religion, you're always staying on the straight path because you feel that you're connected to that energy, and if you do something wrong, you're always accounted for, and there's accountability. That is one of the principles. And another thing is giving back to community, to the needy, and those are the 3 things that I follow, and I see myself doing that. Some of the principles of Sikhi that I see that get overlooked are, one of the things I would say is superstitions. Our religion, or Sikhi, came out when our first guru started, or we have 10 gurus. The first guru, when we started the religion, it was started because of casteism, superstitions, and inequality, gender inequality, and all of that. And I still see superstitions as a part of our community. Even my family, there are things that our grandmothers, grandparents, and our elderly follow that are kind of ingrained in us. And then if we step away from them, they get hurt. And so we try to just keeping not to hurt them, and we continue to stay in those superstitions, which I think is something that was something our religion was trying to do away with, and it still exists. I see myself as an active member of the community, especially because I am one of the administrators at the Sikh Institute of Fresno, which is the Sikh temple, and we have a school that has been there for about 35 years. And I see myself as helping the next generation of Sikhs that are born and raised here to stay grounded, to stay connected to their roots, and to understand what real Sikhi means, and also to teach them our holy prayers, to teach them how to sing our hymns. We also have a culture program. We teach them our dance, and we try to balance both what they study at school, in their regular school, and then what we teach them in Sunday school, to make them see that they can follow both paths, that they can stay grounded and rooted in their values, their Sikh values, but still be American. I personally have not faced prejudice because I am able to speak English. I'm actually by profession a Punjabi and Hindi interpreter, so I'm able to balance both English and Punjabi. But I've seen For example, others in my family that wear the turban, especially during 9/11, and they were seen as something different than what we really are. So we have seen some instances, and then in Punjabi school we have seen some. We do have the classes or the students reach out to us if they are being bullied at school. So I have been familiar with incidents, but it hasn't personally happened to me. So the main foundation of Sikhi or Sikhism is that we are a very open and broad-minded religion. We are very accepting of others that come to our temple. We have free food available. Khalsa Aid is a foundation that is available or is out there everywhere, out throughout the world, giving free food and aid to anybody and everybody. And we're a very broad-minded religion that even 500 years ago in our scriptures, in our holy scriptures, in our teachings, it says that there was gender equality and there was no caste system. We don't believe in all of that. And gender equality, it says, it's a verse that says that how can a woman be lower than a man when she's the one that's giving birth to kings? So 500 years ago, we were so progressive, and our gurus, they led family lives, they had children, and still they were our spiritual leaders. So it teaches us that you can balance and be on the spiritual path and giving and still have a family life and still be available to both your family and community. So I would say, like I said, we're very broad-minded people. We see everybody equal, and we believe in gender equality as well as to giving back to community, and you will see us that we are very open-minded. Thank you.
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ।
ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਹਾਲ ਚਾਲ ਕੀ ਆ?
ਹਾਲ ਚਾਲ ਚੰਗਾ।
ਵਧੀਆ ਵਧੀਆ। ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸਿਹਤ ਕਿਵੇਂ?
ਉਹ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਘੜੀ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗਾ।
ਠੀਕ ਆ, ਸਮਝ ਆ ਗਈ।
ਰੋਟੀ ਮਿਲਦੀ, ਗੱਲਬਾਤ, ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਚੰਗਾ।
ਠੀਕ, ਸਮਝ ਆ ਗਈ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ।
ਮੇਰਾ ਨਾਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਦੇਸ਼, ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਬਣਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨਾਲ, ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰੀ ਹਿਸਟਰੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੀਜ਼ਰਵ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ। ਤੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਕਰਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ, ਮੇਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਾਂ ਆਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਾਈਂਡ 'ਚ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਨਾਂ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੰਨੇ ਇਨਫਲੂਐਂਸ਼ੀਅਲ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਮੇਰਾ ਨਾਂ ਕਾਹਦਾ ਜੀ, ਰੱਬ ਦਾ ਨਾਂ ਆ।
ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਜਨਮ ਦਿਨ ਕਦੋਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ?
ਕੀ
ਜਨਮ ਦਿਨ ਕਦੋਂ ਆ ਦੱਸੋ?
ਮੇਰਾ ਜਨਮ ਦਿਨ
ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਉਹ ਮਨਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਹਰ ਸਾਲ
1 ਅਪ੍ਰੈਲ ਨੂੰ।
ਮੈਨੂੰ
1 ਅਪ੍ਰੈਲ 1911
1911 ਦਾ 1 ਅਪ੍ਰੈਲ 1911 ਦਾ ਜਨਮ ਆ ਮੇਰਾ।
ਸਮਝ ਆ ਗਈ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ। ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਪਾਲੇ ਗਏ ਸੀਗੇ? ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਰਥ ਪਲੇਸ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਸੀਗਾ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ?
ਜਨਮ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਹੋਇਆ, ਕਿਹੜੇ ਥਾਂ? ਇੱਥੇ
ਉਰੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਚੋਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ।
ਨਹੀਂ ਜਨਮ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਹੋਇਆ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ?
ਜਨਮ ਬਿਆਸ ਪਿੰਡ ਹੀ ਹੋਇਆ।
ਸਮਝ ਆ ਗਈ, ਠੀਕ ਆ। ਤੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਮਨ ਕਦੋਂ ਬਣਿਆ ਭੱਜਣ ਨੂੰ?
ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੰਨ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਸੁਣਦਾ ਘੱਟ ਆ।
ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਦੱਸੋ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਮਨ ਕਦੋਂ ਕਰਿਆ ਭੱਜਣ ਨੂੰ? ਕਦੋਂ
ਮਨ ਏਦਾਂ, ਇਹ ਵੀ ਮੁੱਢ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਨੇ। ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ।
ਮੇਰੇ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਰੱਬ ਨਾ, ਮੈਂ ਬੜਾ ਖੁਸ਼ ਸੀਗਾ ਇੱਥੇ। 3 ਮੇਰੀਆਂ ਲੜਕੀਆਂ, ਬੜੀਆਂ ਲੜਕੇ ਛੋਟੇ ਸੀਗੇ, ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਲੜਕਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਾ ਸੀ, ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਚੰਡੀਗੜ੍ਹ ਸੀਗਾ, ਇੱਕ ਇੱਥੇ ਵਿਦੇਸ਼ ਸੀ। ਬੜਾ ਖੁਸ਼ ਸੀ, ਬੜਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਖੇਤੀ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ। ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਨਾ ਸਿਪਾਹੀ ਤੋਂ ਕਪਤਾਨ ਲੁਟੈਨ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਥੱਲੇ ਦੀ ਹਾਲਤ ਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਮੈਂ ਥੱਲੇ ਦੀ ਹਾਲਤ ਤੋਂ ਤਰੱਕੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੋਈ ਆ। ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤਗੜਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗੇ, ਖੂਹ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਬਣਾਇਆ, ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਬਣਿਆ, ਕੋਠੀ ਬਣਾਈ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਰੂਹ ਕਰਦੀ ਸੀ। ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀ ਆ, ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਲੈ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਜੋਗੀ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਸਾਰੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਗਏ ਹੋਏ, ਅਸੀਂ ਘਰ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਮਿਆਂ 'ਚ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਮਿਆਂ 'ਚ ਘਰ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਏ। ਘਰ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਉਹ ਹੱਥੀਂ ਕਮਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ੰਕਰ ਦਾ ਮਿਸਤਰੀ ਸੀ, ਹੱਥੀਂ ਭਰਤੀ ਪਾਈ, ਹੱਥੀਂ ਸਭ ਮਜ਼ਦੂਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਤੜਕੇ ਟਰੈਕਟਰ ਬਾਹ ਲੈਣਾ, ਫਿਰ ਮਜ਼ਦੂਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਆਣ ਕੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੁੰਮ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ, ਸਾਰਾ ਹੀ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ। ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਦਿਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਿਆਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ,
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਜਿੱਲੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਐਕਸੀਡੈਂਟ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਮੌਤ ਹੋ ਗਈ,
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਜਿੱਲੇ ਉਹ ਮਰ ਗਿਆ, ਉਹ ਸਿਆਣਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਇੱਕ ਕਹਾਣਾ ਆ, ਗਭਰੂ ਪੁੱਤ ਨਾ ਮਰਨ ਮਾਪਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਔਰ ਸਿਆਪਿਆਂ ਪੈ ਜਾਂਦੀ। ਉਹ ਜਿਲੇ ਮਰ ਗਿਆ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਮੈਂ ਮਰ ਗਿਆ, ਮੈਂ ਜਿੰਦਾ ਹੀ ਮਰ ਗਿਆ। ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਮਰ ਗਿਆ, ਉਹ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਸੀਗਾ। ਇੱਕ ਚੰਡੀਗੜ੍ਹ ਸੀ ਛੋਟਾ ਪੜ੍ਹਦਾ, ਇੱਕ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁਣ ਇੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਬਲੈਕ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ। ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਖੇਤੀ ਖੂਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਹੱਥ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਾਇਆ, ਪਸ਼ੂਆਂ ਨੇ ਹੱਥ ਲਾਇਆ, ਹੱਥ ਮੇਰੇ ਟੁੰਡੇ। ਫਿਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਇਰਾਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਵੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਬਾਹਰ ਲੈ ਜਾਈਏ, ਉਹਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਟਿਕਾਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ। ਦੇਖੋ ਪਾਣੀ ਬਾਹਰ ਗਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਏਅਰਪੋਰਟ ਤੇ, ਕੋਈ ਬੰਦਾ ਜੇ ਕਿਸਮਤ ਚੰਗੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਚੰਗਾ ਟੱਕਰਦਾ, ਮਾੜੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਮਾੜਾ ਟੱਕਰਦਾ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਉਹ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮੋਹਰੇ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਬੰਦਾ,
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਬਈ ਸਰਦਾਰਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੋਈ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਲਈ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਇਹ ਕਹੀ ਨਾ ਤੂੰ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਕੱਲਾ ਚੱਲਿਆ ਜਾਂ ਜੇ ਅਬੋ, ਤੂੰ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੀ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ, ਮੇਰਾ ਟੱਬਰ ਮੇਰੀ ਘਰ ਵਾਲੀ ਕਹੀ ਨਾ ਮਰ ਗਈ ਆ, ਜੇ ਕਹਿ ਤਾਂ ਘਰ ਵਾਲੀ ਮਰ ਗਈ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨੇ ਤੇਰਾ ਵੀਜ਼ਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਾਉਣਾ। ਤੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਵੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਨਿਆਣਿਆਂ ਪਰ ਚੱਲਿਆ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਾਂ ਚੱਲ ਜਾਓ, 12 ਬੱਟੀ ਦੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ। ਜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਇਹਦੀ ਘਰ ਵਾਲੀ ਮਰ ਗਈ, ਉਹਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਆਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ। ਉਹ ਕੁਦਰਤੀ ਰਾਹ ਚੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਕਿਸਮਤ ਚੰਗੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ, ਕੋਈ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਨਾ ਬੁੱਝਦਾ ਨਾ, ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਿੱਚੇ ਸੀ ਬੰਦੇ, ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੋਈ ਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ, ਸਭ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਫੇਲ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਕਿ ਤੂੰ ਕੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ ਚੱਲਿਆ? ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਕੁਛ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨ ਚੱਲਿਆ। ਤੇਰੀ ਘਰ ਵਾਲੀ? ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਨਿਆਣਿਆਂ ਪਾ ਹੁਣ ਉਹ ਆ, ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਆ ਜਾਣਾ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਨਿਆਣਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਣਾ, ਅਸੀਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਕਰਨਾ ਟੱਬਰ ਉੱਥੇ, ਅਸੀਂ ਮੁੜ ਆਉਣਾ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੇਰਾ ਵੀਜ਼ਾ। ਇਹ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਟੱਕਰਦਾ, ਨਾ ਮੈਂ ਇੰਨੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ। ਉਹ ਉਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਕੱਢੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਉਹਨੇ ਵੀਜ਼ਾ ਲਾਤਾ, ਮੈਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਦੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਪੈਸੇ ਲੱਗ ਗਏ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਤਕੜਾ ਸੀ। ਮੈਂ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ, ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਮੈਂ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਲੈਣਾ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣ, ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਅਮਲ ਨਾਲ ਲੈਣਾ ਨਾ ਦੇਣਾ, ਰੋਟੀ ਖਾਣਾ, ਤੇਰੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਲੱਗੇ, ਆਰਾਮ ਨਾਲ ਫਿਰਦਾ ਤੁਰਦਾ ਰਹਾ। ਮੈਂ ਰਲ ਗਿਆ ਕਬੱਡੀ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ, ਜਾਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਿਆ। ਐਤਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ 2 ਦਿਨ ਹੋਣੀ, ਕਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਦਿਨ ਤਜ਼ੂਰੀ ਹੋਣੀ ਕਬੱਡੀ ਵਾਲੇ, ਉਹ ਤਗੜਾ ਟੁੱਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਰਲ ਪਿਆ। ਮੈਂ ਪਿੰਡ ਦੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਗੇੜੇ ਦੇਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਿਆ। ਫਿਰ ਉਧਰ ਮੈਰਥਨ, ਉਹ ਇਹ ਮੈਰਥਨ ਇੱਧਰ ਕੌਣ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ? ਇਹ ਸਭ ਕੁਛ ਮੇਰੇ ਆਏ ਤੇ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਧਰ ਸੀਗੀ। ਫਿਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ, ਇੱਕ ਦੌੜਨੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਸੀ ਅੱਗੇ, ਦੋ ਇਕੱਲੇ ਐਵੇਂ ਫਿਰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਕੋਈ ਨਾਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ। ਤੀਆ ਮੈਂ ਰਲ ਗਿਆ, ਪਾਰਟੀ ਬਣ ਗਈ ਸਾਡੀ, ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਬੰਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਲ ਗਿਆ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਤੂੰ ਏਦਾਂ ਕਰ, ਆਪਾਂ ਮੈਰਥਨ ਦੌੜਦੇ ਆ, ਆਪਾਂ ਐਵੇਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ 60 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਦੌੜੇ 300-400 ਮੀਟਰ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਦੌੜ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ, ਉਹਦਾ ਨਾਂ ਕੱਢ ਦਿੰਦੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਖੜੇ ਪੈਰ ਤੇ, ਆਪਾਂ ਲੰਮੀ ਦੌੜ, ਤੂੰ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰ। ਜਿੱਲੇ ਕਿਸਮਤ ਚੰਗੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਚੰਗੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਟੱਕ ਜਾਂਦੇ, ਜੇ ਮਾੜੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਮਾੜੇ ਟੱਕਰਦੇ ਆ।
ਜੀ
ਉਹ ਮੈਂ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਰਲ ਪਿਆ ਬੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਉਹ ਅੱਗੇ ਦੋਏ ਇਕੱਲੇ ਸੀਗੇ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਤੇ ਜੇਸੂ ਤਾਂ ਅਮਰੀਕ ਸੂ ਉਹ ਦੋਏ ਮਰ ਗਏ, ਉਹ ਦੋਏ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡੇ ਸੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਰਲ ਗਿਆ। ਉਹਨੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਰਗਾ ਟ੍ਰੇਨ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ, ਵੱਡੀ 26 ਮੀਲ 27 ਮੀਲ 28 ਮੀਲ 30 32 ਮੀਲ ਵੀ ਦੌੜਨੇ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਉਹਨੇ ਏਦਾਂ। ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਜਿਲੇ ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਸਰੀਰ ਤੋਂ ਕੰਮ ਲੈਣਾ ਹਨਾ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਰੀਰ ਦੀ ਆਦਮੀ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ। ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਰੀਰ ਵੱਲ ਦੇਖਦਾ ਵੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਰੀਰ ਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਹੈ। ਜੇ ਮਾੜੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਮਾੜੇ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਪੀਣ ਲੱਗ ਪੈਂਦਾ। ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਸਹੀ ਹੈ ਉੱਥੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉਦੋਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਦੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਲੱਗਣੇ ਆ। ਏਦਾਂ ਰਹੀ ਕਿਸਮਤ ਬੜੀ ਚੰਗੀ ਰਹੀ, ਬੜਾ ਚਿਰ ਰਿਹਾ। ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵੀ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਵੀ ਗੌਰਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਕਿਰਾਏ ਘਰਦਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਪੈਸਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਾ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਇਹ ਕੀ ਵਜ੍ਹਾ, ਮੇਰੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ 'ਚ ਮੈਂ ਕੋਈ ਰਾਜਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ, ਚੈਰਿਟੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਮੈਂ ਕਰਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ। ਉਧਰ ਚੈਰਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਮੁਲਕਾਂ ਸਮਝਦੇ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਜਿੰਨਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪੈਸਾ ਮੈਂ ਦੌੜਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਉਹ ਮਿਲਿਆ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਚੈਰਿਟੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ 'ਚ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਗੌਰਮੈਂਟ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗਾ ਸਮਝਦੀ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਰੱਬ ਚੰਗਾ ਸਮਝਦਾ।
ਸਹੀ ਗੱਲ।
ਉਹ ਮੈਂ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਕੁਦਰਤ ਨੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਚੈਰਿਟੀ ਵਾਲੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਦਮੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਾ ਬੰਦੇ ਉਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਰਲਦੇ ਆ।
ਬਾਬਾ ਫੌਜਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਕੀ ਖਾਂਦੇ ਹੋ? ਇੰਨੀ ਸ਼ੇਪ 'ਚ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ?
ਖਾਣ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਨੂੰ ਮੇਰੇ ਭਾ ਇੱਕ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਅਮਲ ਲੱਗਾ ਆ ਚਿਰਾਂ ਦਾ, ਪਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਦਾ। ਉਹ ਪਿੰਨੀ
ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਜੀ ਕਰਦਾ, ਮਨ ਕਰਦਾ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਪਿੰਡ ਆ? ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੁਛ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਫਿਊਚਰ 'ਚ ਪਿੰਡ ਵਾਸਤੇ?
ਹਾਂ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲਾਂਬੇ ਵੀ ਗੌਰਮੈਂਟ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ,
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਜਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਦਿਲ 'ਚ ਲਾਲਚ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਖਰਚ ਕਰੀਦਾ, ਕੋਲੋਂ ਜਾਈਦਾ ਸਾਦੇ ਆ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਲਾਂਬੇ ਵੀ ਕਰੀਦਾ ਵੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਵੀ ਚਲੋ ਥੋੜਾ ਬੜਾ।
ਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਅੱਜ ਪੰਜਾਬ 'ਚ ਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਦੇਸ਼ਾਂ 'ਚ?
ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਸੱਚ ਹੋਵੇ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ, ਚਲੋ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਿਲਾਵਟ ਹੋਵੇ, ਇੱਥੇ ਮਿਲਾਵਟ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੇ ਸੁਭਾ ਝੂਠ ਚੱਲਦਾ।
ਭੱਜ ਕੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਾਸੇ।
ਮੈਸੇਜ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ
ਮੈਸੇਜ ਦੇਵੋ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਰਨਗੇ।
ਵੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਾਹਰਲੇ ਮੁਲਕ ਨਾ, ਇਹ ਬਾਹਰਲੇ ਮੁਲਕਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਮਾੜਾ ਨਹੀਂ, ਬਸ ਝੂਠ ਛੱਡੋ, ਸੱਚ ਬੋਲੋ ਤੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ ਇੱਜ਼ਤ ਕਰੋ। ਬਾਹਰਲੇ ਮੁਲਕ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਸਾਡੇ ਲੋਕ ਬਾਹਰ ਗਏ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਦੱਸਣ ਤੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਮੁਲਕ ਸਭ ਪੈਦਾ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਆ, ਪਰ ਵੀ ਅਗਲੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਧੀਕੀ ਨਾ ਕਰੋ, ਸੱਚ ਬੋਲੋ। ਅਗਲਾ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਪਾਗਲ ਵਾ, ਕੋਈ ਵੱਧ ਘੱਟ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਅਕਲ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ, ਮੋਹਰਿਓਂ ਬਰਾਬਰ ਨਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਬੋਲੋ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਅਕਲ ਵਾਲਾ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕੁਛ ਕਹਿਣਾ, ਇਹ ਬੋਲਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ। ਆਸਟ੍ਰੇਲੀਆ ਗਿਆ ਹੀ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਉੱਥੇ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਲੋਕ ਇੱਧਰੋਂ ਐਵੇਂ ਝੂਠੇ ਫਾਰਮ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਆਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਾ, ਉਹ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੀ ਕੁਛ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ। ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੰਮ ਨਾ ਕਰੋ, ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੂੰ ਬਦਨਾਮ ਨਾ ਕਰੋ। ਪੰਜਾਬ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਮੁਲਕ ਵਾ, ਬੜਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਮੁਲਕਾਂ 'ਚ ਬੈਠਾ ਆ, ਤਰੱਕੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਵੀ। ਹੁਣ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਵੀ ਘੱਟ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਹ ਇੰਨਾ ਹੀ ਨੁਕਸ ਆ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਵਿੱਚ।
ਸਮਝ ਆ ਗਈ ਗੱਲ।
Hello, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਆਂਟੀ।
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।
So to start off, can you please state your name?
ਸ਼ਰਨਜੀਤ ਕੌਰ ਰਾਣੋ।
Okay. And can you please state your title?
ਮੈਂ ਹਾਊਸਵਾਈਫ।
Okay.
Yeah.
And so to start off, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Oh, okay. I'm today, like as you said, my birthday, so I turned 68 years old today. So I came to America when I was 23 years old, in 1978 after I got married. So I all my studies and everything, I did it in Punjab, India. So I didn't go to college or anything here. So yeah, so that's my status. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what and where did you major in? Like, what college did you go to?
In India?
Yeah.
So I did a MA in history. You can say like here in America, say post graduation in history, say history subject.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, why did you pursue it? Why did you go into history?
History thing.
Yeah.
So telling the truth, to be very frank, you're going to laugh on that. Like when at my age group, like when I was growing up in India, the girls still, it's like girls are still becoming doctors, teachers, and in every sphere, but still somehow, somewhere in some families, they don't want girls to do a job outside the house. So they just give them an education so they can get married to some nice guy, like, so, yeah, so like stuff like that. So that's what my main thing, my family just wanted me to be in the college or doing some studies. So since like till I don't find anybody or they don't find anybody for me to get married.
Yeah. So I know in Punjab it was really common to have arranged marriages.
Yeah.
Did you have an arranged?
Oh yeah, totally arranged marriage in a 1 week.
Oh, okay. So seeing how arranged marriage, like how did it affect you?
There is some negatives and there's some positives. Like for me, if you make me stand right now here, like when I see here, because I'm here around about over than 40 years, so my kids went to school, they're married, all of them find their own better half. So I didn't do it, like they didn't do the arranged marriage. So now they are almost married for 12 years, 8 years or 7 years. Some of the things I can see like from a nearby, see the comparison. So there are like arranged marriage at that time when we were growing up is like I didn't have any other exposure. So so I didn't know like even I can find some guy or like that. So that's why I didn't know better than that. So you got married and I got here. So with the time I'd seen, there's some of the positives that I see in arranged marriage comparison here. Is that like when you're seeing somebody, you have a little bit of different kind of a fantasies because you're spending a time with them, you know each other. But then when you are not committed, there are more kind of you live in a fantasy world. Okay, when you get committed, sometimes then you start having a problem. Okay, so with the arranged marriage, you don't have any kind of a fantasies. So you just come, you hit to the reality, and with the time you start understanding with each other. And that is like kind of a gamble too. Like arranged marriage is a gamble too, whether you're, like, I'm not saying only men, even the ladies, like whether if you have a good partner, so it's successful. But if it's not, I had seen it, it's very hard for the ladies, and most of the time it's the ladies who suffer in the arranged marriage. That's I had seen a lot. Yeah.
After you moved to the United States, and you saw women in arranged marriages, how did they kind of cope?
Your question is how we cope with that, or the ladies cope with it. The main how we cope with it is with our friend circle. Telling you very frankly, if you find somebody good, so you're dependent upon that. Vice versa. And if you have a good, like then if you have a good partner, or if you have a family, then you cope with them. But I'll say it's easy. No, it's not easy. It wasn't easy. Still, it wasn't easy. So you have that longing to go back. So you have that longing to go back. So it's not easy to cope. But only thing we cope with our friends, I will say that. Because it's not at that time, you can't even say if you're in depression or you're like depression, we didn't even know what depression is. We don't even heard that thing, like that mean word in India. So it's not you have depression, you go to psychologist or psychiatrist. So nothing was like that. You had to just in yourself, everything you have to put in your own thing and express. And when you go back home, sometimes you fight with your family. Okay, like, where did you send me? Why did you do this? And stuff like that. So that's a kind of a cooperation you do. And there wasn't even a telephones like that. Now you can just say, if you want some recipe from your mom, you can call, hey mom, I want to do. So with us, there was nothing like that. So it was very hard time. Yeah.
Tell me about one person or one friend you made who had a big impact on your life.
That I can say, not a friend, I can say my husband, telling you the truth. Why I say that? Because I'll give you a little bit background. The background is, I was the youngest in the family. My husband is the oldest in the family. So we are totally two opposite personalities. He was a very responsible person, and I was very careless person. But the confidence that all my confidence, I always tell him, all my confidence, my things to do in life, I got it from him. He like kind of give me that push. Like he never told me I can't do that. In the beginning it was hard, but he won't say you can't do this or you don't do this. I will say my impact on my to be a self-confidence, to have a self-respect is I will give that to my husband.
What are some things you achieved in the United States? For example, I know you opened up the Sikh institution.
Yeah, you know, like so that's why I'm saying with the cooperation with my husband in the beginning, like when my kids were little, like so for you, like just a little bit information. My older son is 42 years old, my middle son is 41, and my daughter is 37. So they are all grown up, and I have a grandkids. So when we came here, we don't have that much community either. So we started we have a bunch of same kind of age friends, so we get together. We started getting together just to give a culture and the religion to our kids. So we started doing our religious ceremony. We'll get together somebody's house once a month. So and get together and teach them. From there, so then we are all together. Like from there, the Punjabi school, the idea came to our mind that we should start our own language school, Sunday school here. So if the kids can come, so that's the one thing. Like it is running there, and you went there too. From the last 33 and 34 years old, 34 years it's back, and from there we also started there's a cultural function with my other friend Gudi Sidhu, and she passed away. So we are very close, very close. Both of us came at the same time and struggling with the same kind of issues. Both of us, like no family is here, no support is from outside, just with the kids and stuff like that, just to give a support to each other. So then we started a cultural kind of a tiya is called, girls get together in some place in some park and just sing and Punjabi folk songs. So from there we started looking at the problems with the ladies. Like they just sometimes they just want to talk to somebody, and some of them come direct from the villages and they don't know the English, like not their mother tongue. So they don't have nobody here, so they're having some problems. So for that kind of stuff, we also started then SWCC, that's a Sikh women organization of Central California. So I think that two things can say that's a kind, for me, that's a part of my life. Like I really dear them in Punjabi school and.
And tell me more about Gudi Sidhu and who she was and.
She was I think one Sikh from the Sikh community. I really. Learned a lot. She's 3-4 years older than me. So, but I just always think my older sister. Okay. So our both names are Goodies. So we clicked each other. So our kind of thinking is the same to unite our own community, give the kids our own language and cultural. And she also is the first girl Punjabi lady, I'm just saying, who started the Punjabi TV station with her friend, and also she was on the radio host for almost 20-25 years. So all these things I learned from her a lot. So we are kind of really close knitted. Very, very, very different kind of a friendship. We never step on each other's foot. So sometimes our interests are totally different, but still we get along with each other. We never had any kind of even if we have a misunderstandings, we never say in front of anybody. So we'll just kind of. So I'll say, okay, I dear that friendship to my heart. So I learned a lot from her. Bigger thing that I learned from her is a patience.
Yeah.
So I was very outspoken, and she was very calm. So we kind of complement each other. she will see how to talk, and I'll just come if I said I don't like anything. So I just come and so sometimes I will tell her, okay, this is what I did. Now you go and pacify it. So but now, so whatsoever she used to do it, now I had to do all these things. So I had to learn a lot from her, and I'm applying that on my life.
Yeah. And how did Sikhi help you through difficult times?
Sikhi for me, it's like some people like sometimes people, most of the people are young people or even our age people. They say like religion is like you go to church or you go to temple. It's boring. For me, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So I have Guru Granth Sahib at my home, our religious book. So I'll just challenge myself. Like if some kind of a feelings for me, I'll just sit there and talk and sit myself, and I read Guru Granth Sahib, and kind of that guidance helped me a lot in my life. I really have a trust in it. So like we take a order or a hukam like that. So that kind of a hukam, that kind of a divine will, I believe in that. So I just think this is what the way of my life. This is the things that are going to happen, doesn't matter what. So that helped me in my faith a lot, my trust. Yeah.
Tell me about one person who had the greatest influence on you.
On me as a religious or as a whole?
As a whole.
As a whole, I said my mom.
Okay.
Yeah, I learned a lot from my mom. I learned a lot from my mama patience. You know, like one thing I always, like when she died, I went to India. And India, they don't speak anything about during the funeral or anything. But I told them, okay, I have to say some things about my mom. And one thing I just said it, okay, like sometimes we read all these spiritual books. You know, all these books like how to live in the moment, how to do this, like all spiritual books. Like it's for especially for the young. It's very good. It's very nice. But for me, I felt it like we miss a lot when sometimes the open book is in front of you, and that's your parents' experience. So like we don't get a chance to sit and talk to them. So this is what I always feel. Okay, for my mom, I learned the patience. For my mom, I learned to let it go. Let it go and go on your life, okay? Understand, go on your life, and if you have to make some understandings, do it. It's not you are not going to make some adjustments in your life. You are going to make some adjustments in your life. So like in a relationship, she said like it's very easy to break the relationship, but it's very hard to continue in a relationship. So I really say I the most important impact on me is my mom. Yeah.
And what are some stereotypes in the Punjabi Sikh community that kind of frustrate you?
Frustrate me, very much frustrate me, when we don't let our kids to do whatsoever they want to. That's the biggest thing, even right now. Like when we just have a one aim in life, like they have to be either doctors or this or lawyers, or if they don't, and then if they don't get married, still like in the families, you go still in the family. I'm not saying I want the kids to marry in their own culture, in their own religion. I'm not talking about the religion more. I think the kids should marry to their own culture, because the way you are born and brought up, it's easier to understand each other. So anyway, it's very hard to understand each other. Then you're coming from totally different social stuff. So then it's more difficult. Then the religion part. So all these things become more and more harder when you're doing out of your community or out of your religion, stuff like that. So this is what frustrates me. But then what you can do, like sometimes and another thing is sometimes I tell the Punjabi school young mothers, like never ever go on expectations whatsoever you think your kids are going to do. So that's also frustrates me. Then they think the life is, because I went through with that. I went through that age, and see like when your kids are really good in everything, you have expectations. Oh my, this is my kid is going to do this, and sometimes it doesn't happen. So then it's a frustration, and it frustrates me sometimes. Parents will come, have a high hopes, like my kid is going to do that. I'm just going to look at, calm down. It's, just, so this is what frustrates me. So.
What made you kind of go into this belief that you should let your kids whatever do?
Going through with my own life experience, so going life, like this is my personal experience, not somebody else. So I'm not shy about it. Like if I think all my 3 kids are really good in studies, was really good in studies. They were valedictorians. They went to all this UC system. What a parents want, like they go from here to here to here, like they did everything. So but when they were on their own, like when you have a aim next step, like they will get married, okay? So then you have, like even you tell them, can be find your own, but you just have some kind of a image of like, my son or my daughter will do that. And then, but my son came, my older son, he's a lawyer, and he came to me, he said he find a girl, she's 4 years older she's white, she's 4 years older than him, she was divorced, and she has 3 kids. So I was looking at him, and I was looking at myself. I want to scream. Like this is what I didn't expect from you. Especially in our society, like when everybody knows you, like this is kind of a bigger stigma our parents can have. So I did fight with him. We like had some fights. Then in the end, I realized it. So he made the decision now. I am not included in that decision. So now if I want to make a relationship with my son, it's up to me. If I don't, then he's going to move forwards towards his life. He's going to look back, and he should. That's the way life is. Life moves on. Life doesn't stay. So at that time, with my heart, with my heavy heart, for 4 and 5 years, so gone. So then, if you tell me, did I expect it? Did I like agreed totally with him 100%, or like I will say no. 85% I'm okay, but 50% I still go there. Okay, why he did that? So that's why I'm saying that's what makes me feel okay, we have to let the kids. They're not going to listen to you. And it's not okay, he's not like any kind bad kid. Like he did everything to the book. He's a lawyer and he's earning money, like everything. But this thing happened. Then what you want to do? Like either I should walk with him, or I should stay back and just curse him and curse myself, and as our Indian parents do, or feel like what the people will say. So, and it's for me, that's another thing frustrates me for Indian people, Punjabi community, what the people will say. So, it's your kid, and it's you. Why the other people has to say something? Why you have to worry about that? So, but I did talk about openly to my friends and to the families. I don't shy about it. I don't hide it. For me, it's my truth. So if I am okay with my son, and nobody else has to say anything. So that's why I tell the parents, let it go. Like if they come to you, they talk to you, sit with him. And so I'm telling you my personal experience. It was hard, but if you think I'm I'm okay with that now. I have a good relationship with my son, like with his family, with even his kids, like he adopted them, so they're my grandkids. So we go vacation together, so I accepted it. But this is what I will tell parents. So I learned a hard way, but if you can work with your parents, with your kids, then it's easier to do it.
And now I know you grew up in Punjab, so how did that kind of affect how you lived in the United States?
I telling the truth, now I like living in United States. It's not like if you have money there, you can live a very comfortable life there. But the attitude of people there, if you have money, they're very arrogant. They're very, very arrogant. They don't treat a person as a person. So that kind of stuff is very hard for me to accept it. So I will rather live here and live my life without anything, like without worrying about people, what they say. Still we have it, but it's not, we don't have that much as we have there, back home.
So, wrapping all of this up, can you share some important lessons? Just share some important lessons on what you learned from them.
Like one thing is I just let it go. That's for sure. I will say let it go. Then another thing is I always say be like if you can learn from a little kid, So that's what I always like. See it, like especially when you are like on my side, when you're a grandma. So I learned more from my little grandkids than I learned in my whole life. Like simple, honest little things. So sometimes we forget those. So I always say, okay, this is my lesson of my life is bigger lesson of my life is like stay there, like wherever your life takes you, that is at that moment. That is what I believe in my, according to Sikh way of life. Okay, that's the divine will. Okay, that's a hukam. So okay, I had to stay in that hukam. So my hukam is my hukam. Like I believe in, like there's a two kind of a divine will. One divine will is that the whole universe law, like sun is going to be go from, like sun is going to be rise, then sun is going to be set. But then I also believe some reality of my own life. So that's what I sum up with, some reality of my own life, where I stand, what is happening with me. That is just my reality of life. That is my divine will. So how I want to take it, so it's up to me. I can be negative, I can be positive. So I can walk with that hukam, or can sit in a corner and cry if it's sad hukam. So this is what I kind of sum up. Okay, we have to stay with that hukam, whatsoever is happening in your life at that moment. Nowadays they say it's a live in the moment. So I will say that that's the truth of your life. That's the reality of your life. That's what our Sikh way of life tells us.
And are there any final words you want to add?
No, I am like, I can just say, okay, if you are with your own self, you are satisfied with your own self. Like if you have a satisfied whatsoever you do, where you stand in life. I don't think so. You will have any kind of a negativity in that. Even there is a negativity, but if you will just take it as you like, it's some improvement I can do some, so then you can live nicely, happily. That's what I say.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
My name is Gurminder Singh Sangha, Dean of Educational Services and Pathway Effectiveness with Fresno City College. So I joined Fresno City College 4 years ago as a Dean of Ed Services and Pathway Effectiveness. And so let me take you back my time in India. So I came to the United States in 1996. I was about 23 years of age. And then prior to that, again, half of my life was in India. I was born in Pune, Maharashtra, in India. And then my dad was in the Indian Air Force, so we traveled all over India. So did not get a chance to learn Punjabi. However, I picked it up, and now I can fluently speak and read Punjabi language. So while living in the United States in 1996, I went to Fresno City College and started my formal education here. Then I went on to Fresno State and finished my electrical engineering there. And then I started working for U.S. Navy as a civilian. That is in 2003.
Okay.
Yep.
And how did you come to being the dean at Fresno City College?
Yes, it is a long story, but I was working in industry as an engineering manager at a company called International Paper. And prior to that, I worked for a company called PPG Industries. So being in the technical field, I was never able to hire the staff for my company, the companies that I work for. And then we always struggled to find the good talent. Then I started working with local community colleges to help them develop the workforce for the industry, in this case, manufacturing sector. So I love manufacturing. I live and breathe manufacturing. And then I started working with local 16 community colleges in Central Valley. And then after that, I joined the California Community Chancellor Office as Deputy Sector Navigator. And the purpose of that job was to help colleges develop the workforce that is required to fill the needs of the industry. And then after that, I became the State Director for Advanced Manufacturing, working for a Chancellor Office, supporting whole 116 community colleges of California. So at that time, I was deciding that my mission has been completed because I was able to develop several programs across community colleges. Then I was going to go back to industry. However, I thought that let me stay in the education system and try to see if I can learn more about the systems that that are in place, right? So then I applied for a job with Fresno City College. I'm also a graduate of Fresno City College, and I was luckily selected to run the centers of the Fresno City College. So that's how I came to work for Fresno City College. And I am still serving the needs of the industry in a way that I'm helping develop the programs for not only industry sector, in this case manufacturing, but now also for the community. And particularly as a rep of the Punjabi Sikh community, I'm trying to help wherever I can be the voice of our Punjabi community and bring in the programs that is going to serve the needs of not Punjabi Sikh community or also Indian community.
Okay. And how has your position kind of influenced the Indian community in Fresno?
Yes. I think the Punjabi community has influence on me. I think when you see someone who is like you, who can speak the language that you speak, I think people feel comfortable talking to you. I've had many folks that have come to me, reached out to me from the community asking and sharing their needs. For example, in 2000, prior to COVID, community reached out to me and asking to offer English courses for people that are recently coming from India or have been here working and they wanted to upskill. So then with the help of many community members, we brought in EMLS, English for multilingual students, at the Sikh Institute. So the reason for that was that as a college, it is our mission to bring education to a community where they are. So we had a very supportive president, and then with their help, as a collectively, we brought the courses at the Sikh Institute, and till today, that course has been going on. And then our goal is to bring more courses for the community. So the influence is, I would say that the entrenched value system in us is a seva. So seva is the key, I would say, tenet of my work everywhere I have gone, is to how am I going to serve the community that is giving us so much and we are part of so much. That's kind of, I would say, Sikhi has a big influence from a seva standpoint that I always try to do.
And how has growing up in India kind of affected how you live over here, or your ideals even?
Yes. I think it has a huge influence on me. I will share with you why I'm saying that, because I grew up in a, as I shared with you earlier, my dad was in Indian Air Force. Mm-hmm. So I grew up in an environment where we had people from different backgrounds living together. So we were growing up in, I would say, Air Force bases. So we have people from all over India, Hindu, Muslims, Christians, and from all different ethnicities and minority backgrounds. So I think grew up in that environment really gave me a strong foundation from what we call equity standpoint, even though I did not understand at that point growing up what that value system was. But when I came to the United States, people were started asking me questions, who are you, right? That question was never asked of me in India. And I think that, and then I discovering myself, then I always went back and lean on those values that I was raised with, right? So, and then that served me so well is that I never hesitated in helping others and understanding other needs, and that provided a strong foundation for me to be successful in any of the roles that have served in different positions that I've taken so far.
And can you tell me about one person who has had the greatest influence you as a whole?
I wouldn't say there is only one person. However, I'm looking back. There are so many people that I have learned from. I think from the hard work standpoint, I would say that I always seen my mom, how she helped us raise with pretty much minimal resources, right? And then my dad is always helping me learn about the public service side of it. And then my grandpa, I learned that how everyone comes to seek advice from him. And then my dad has a huge family, huge meaning that there are 9 siblings, learning from everyone else. However, I would say that when I was playing soccer, I was a national level soccer player in India, I learned a lot from being in a team, working with the team players. How are you going to find your position and help one another? And till today, I feel like I'm learning every single day. I learn from our students, I learn from our faculty, I learn from a lot of great mentors in the community I work with. So it is not necessarily a particular person that I can really say that I've learned a lot from. I said that I learn from others every single day.
Yeah, and you talked about you being a national soccer player, and I find that really, really interesting.
Thank you.
So could you talk a little bit more about that and
Yes.
how it came to be?
Yes. So I was playing for DAV College, Jalandhar. So wherever my ancestral village is in Majara Dingaria. It's close to Mahilpur in Punjab. That is kind of a nursery of soccer. However, I grew up never playing soccer, so I just gave a trial to be on the part of the DAV College Jalandhar team, and I was selected, and we end up winning the inter-college or inter-university championship. So it was fun, but then during that time I hurt my knee, then that kind of ended my career in soccer, and then I just move on to education. Yes.
Yeah, and what made you love education, or what made you go into education?
I always have the utmost respect for education. Since we were a child, that is instilled in us. And then I always, for some reason, it has been stuck with me. Wherever I have worked in the United States, for example, my first job out of college was working for U.S. Navy's electronics engineer. That was in Port Hueneme, Ventura County. So while I was working, I was going to elementary school in Port Hueneme and helping students how to learn math and be a mentor or a coach for them to pursue higher education. Then I came to Fresno, PPG Industries. Then I brought in from Fresno State Engineering. I currently serve on the Engineering, Electrical, and Computer Engineering Advisory Board. So I brought in the VIP program to PPG Industries. VIP is Valley Industry Partnership Program, where it's a co-op program for students who are pursuing engineering. So after your sophomore year, if you apply for the program, then you work for different companies who are in the Central Valley. So I always, no matter where I worked, even while I was in school system, I served on many school organizations as well. Where it came from, I guess that's instilled in us from a very early age. I love education. I want people to be educated. I always want to make sure that I'm helping others to reach their maximum potential. And furthermore, we are also building a new center in West Fresno, Fresno City College. It's called West Fresno Center. And I am honored to say that I will be managing the center, West Fresno Center, in the West Fresno area. So, yeah, that's kind of education. I love education.
Can you talk a little bit more about this West Fresno Center?
Yes. So West Fresno Center will be opening up in the fall of 2023. It will be a full college center. So Fresno City College is a college, and then West Fresno Center is a center of Fresno City College. This is how you start. And that will be right across Gaston Middle School, Edison High School in that community. And we will be offering full college experience for our students. Meaning is that you can take all courses that will be required for anyone to transfer to CSU or UC, get your associate degrees. And also we are building, as a part of the center, is called Advanced Transportation Center. That is about 80,000 square feet facility where students will be able to learn traditional fossil fuel vehicles, how to repair them, up to very like a fuel cell, and then all electric hybrid vehicles, and so on and so forth. So that will be I heard that is one of the best, state-of-the-art facility west of Mississippi. That will be in Fresno. So we all should be very proud. And I will go a little bit further on doing that, saying that we pick, or Fresno City College picked the West Fresno for a reason, because it has been disinvested for many, many years, for decades. And this is a one way of us bringing and serving the community and bringing the access to the students or the community that live on the west side of the Fresno, particularly 93706 zip code.
Okay. And is there a large like minority percentage of students that go to Fresno City College?
Yes, Fresno City College is a HSI, or Hispanic Serving Institution. However, majority in our case is Hispanic students that attend. However, we also have many ethnicities represented. For example, Hmong, and then or Southeast Asian, and also a huge Punjabi or Indian community. So last time I looked at from Asian Indian standpoint, I would say we have about 1,200 to 1,500 students that are enrolled and taking courses at one point at Fresno City College. So we serve proudly. Our president, our administration is very supportive, and we have a lot of special programs to support minorities. To make sure that they feel comfortable coming to the college, and we provide them the culturally relevant education and support systems.
Okay, and can you talk about whether it be like a good situation or a bad situation that kind of regarded minorities, and how you did something that helped like change it or evolve the college? Sure.
So I'll share with you a couple of examples of, recently meaning since I was told that I am the first turban Sikh dean serving in the community college system. And to me, that's normal, because normal meaning is, to me, I don't even see that because I live through it every single day. However, being in the position as a dean, I was approached by the Madeira community to see if we can start Punjabi language course at one of our colleges, right? So I'm happy to say that starting in the fall of 2023, Madeira Community College will be offering a Punjabi 1 course, and Fresno City College will also be offering a Punjabi 1 course. And I feel that happened not because of me, just I was the conduit to make it happen. But there are a lot of people behind the scenes who really took that advice, want to make sure that we support the minorities, and being Asian Indian, being a minority in our region. And then also the Punjabi is the 4th most spoken language in Fresno County. And I would venture to say Punjabis or Asian Indians are the fastest growing minority group in the Fresno County, and as well in the Central Valley in general. So I think we have a lot of minorities. I would say further on, based on the needs of the community, we are offering English for multilingual students. And that is even though it is offered at the Sikh Institute, who gave us their rooms free of charge. But I'm happy to say it's not only Punjabis or Indians are taking benefit of that. We have Asian meaning Chinese, people from South America, and then people from other ethnicities. They're all taking EMLS course at the Sikh Institute, which is not only providing them education, but also providing them the cultural education amongst one another, so learning about one another. So that's a very good environment for them to learn.
Yeah, and you talked about being the first turban-wearing person, as a dean at Fresno City College. And what are some, following that, I was wondering what are some stereotypes you see about the Punjabi Sikh community or even the Indian community?
I personally, I would say fortunate or lucky in that sense. I've never experienced myself any stereotypes per se. However, there are some, I would say, model minority stereotypes that we have, that Asians are generally smarter than other ethnicity, but I believe that is not necessarily true. I think only thing, if I were to attribute one thing which make us a little bit more stand out, because we value education, and second, we are always are driven to work hard. That's the only thing, right? Other than, it's pretty much, I would say, it's the attitude that we grew up with from a hardworking family standpoint and giving the education the highest respect and honor, right? So that's the reason we try work hard. Not necessarily we're smarter than anybody else. That's I don't feel, but I think we work hard towards achieving our goals. Um, um, and I want to say further is that that it is what I learned in my career working in industry and manufacturing and engineering, and as well in the education system, is that we need to be asking more questions without the fear of being retaliated. Meaning is that often people come to me is that, is there a meaning for the color of your turban, right? This is a very conversation starter, so I enjoy talking to them. So I always encourage them to ask questions as well. So I would say I did not feel any stereotypes per se or any negative impact of being a Sikh. I think our Fresno community, in my experience, is very open and welcome to minorities. So that's kind of my experience.
Okay, and you talking about, like, I know you're the dean and you have like dealt with so many minorities, and I know you're very grateful that you have that opportunity. What are some lessons that you learned from them?
Yes. So the lessons I have learned from dealing with minorities is this, that every single student has his own unique needs. We need to be very open-minded in understanding where their background is, where they're coming from. We just cannot take anything for granted. And I think dealing with different minorities, it's good for us to understand where they're coming from. For example, I see Southeast Asian minorities have very similar mindset in a way. However, I just cannot say that, yes, you're belong to a Hmong community or Laos or Indian or Hispanic or Latinx, you're going to have these needs. We need to make sure that we, as an education administrator, take and understand the need of each student. Some of them may have financial needs. Some of them grew up in single-family household. Some of them, and particularly for women, I think that is we need to make sure that we try to understand as much as we can where they're coming from and trying to meet where they are at, right? So, and then it is okay for us to, I would say, a risk taker, meaning is that sometimes we need to go out beyond our comfort zone and create programs or systems to make sure that if there is a minority or a group or a student needs some more resources, we provide those resources to them. And then particularly for our African American students, sometimes they don't, we need to make sure that we give them special attention because historically they're not doing well. Not that they're not smart, that is not true. We want to make sure that we provide them the mentorship they need. And there are different programs that we have. So we're trying our best to make sure that we meet where the students are at.
Yeah, and just now to kind of wrap up,
sure.
Do you have anything that you want to say?
Regarding
anything as this interview, or just some final words you want
Yes. I would. So being the Sikh kind of oral history, I would say that I'm very proud to be a Sikh in this time. I believe the value system, which is Kirt Karo, Vanshako, Naam Japo, are the three tenets that I live by. I don't claim myself to be a Gyani or a scholar, but I'm a very service-oriented person. And I believe the life is very simple. If we can just use those three tenets, we will always be successful. And then lastly, I would say that to anyone listening to it, I would say that always be in Chardi Kala. Right? I mean, that is the core concept I live by. Even though sometimes I'm down, I always say, how are you? I've said Chardi Kala, right? So I think be humble, be respectful, and try to see wherever you can add value. And lastly, I would say is that as you're kind of talking to me, and I said earlier, I've learned from a lot more people. So we continue to serve the community because it's a continuum. If we break that continuum, it's going to be very hard for next generation to pick up where we left off from. So we want to make sure that we we serve the community we live in, we become part of the community, and we exchange the good values that we have. And those are, to me, are kirt karo van shago te naam chapo. So again, with that, I want to say thank you, Harleen, to you, to making this opportunity, and anything I could do for our community or any other community, I'll be happy to do so.